Well, hi guys, I have to do my wisdom from the car today, and stuck in another rainy afternoon, which is very good. But anyway, wisdom number 22 is find your purpose. Finding your purpose is something that we all hear a lot, and I think it's something that actually annoys a lot of people, because there's so much almost focus and pressure on it that I think sometimes it moves us away from what it actually is, or disempowers people whose purpose might be different, right? So I think some people have a purpose that they're capable of going out there and changing the world, and other people have a purpose that's closer to home. So many times when I run my workshops, I find some people, they just want to live a nice life, take care of their family, raise their kids. You know, that's what their purpose is all about. And I think that needs to be honoured as equally as the people out there on the global stage. So finding your purpose is a very personal thing. But also the other thing that I think that the most important thing when you're struggling with finding your purpose is it's what makes your heart beat faster. Not love, of course, although that could be your purpose. But it's what makes your heart beat. You know, it's what really drives you. It's not a brain decision. It's definitely a heart decision. So it took me a long time to find my purpose. If I think around some of the people that I know in my life who I think have found their purpose, most of them a bit later too. I think of my mate Jenny Thorman in Melbourne, who's just out there building a sustainable fashion brand, which is all for people riding bicycles. It's amazing. Justine Wallen, as a musician, singer, amazing. Go and check her out. My sister, Philippa Edwards, and her husband, my brother-in-law, Jamie, they've launched a production company, and they're just doing amazing work, bringing some of their original compositions and creations to the market. And so I always feel like they're all driven by purpose. And then I'm part of this professional speakers community around the world. And if you go and pay attention to that community, that's a really great insight into what drives people, what people's purpose is, because you can't be a great speaker unless you've got your topic right. So one of the ladies in my community, Dee Ellen, just recently released her new brand, which is the Gritty Girl, and I love it. It's absolutely perfect. It's perfect for her. It matches her personality, and I know she's going to do great things with it. Margie Worrell talks about being brave, and I love that. And you know, there's so many speakers around who are doing a really great job as far as defining what their purpose is. So for me, purpose has always been really difficult. I mean, it might seem like I'm very purpose driven, but I've always felt that the real purpose is kind of elusive to me. And what I've realized is coming late into what I believe my purpose is I realized I had to pull together all the different parts of me, but also the technological advances were aligning with identifying my purpose too. So let me explain. I've been a communications professional my whole life. But you know, to start with, I wasn't very good at communications. I loved it. But when I was younger, I'd express these opinions, and I was quite brash, right? And I'd be pushing people away. And that's not a good skill of communication. You've got to work out how to draw as many people to you as you can if you want to communicate successfully. So that's a skill that I feel that I've evolved with over time. But I love travel. I love traveling the world. I love people. I love different points of view. I love hearing everybody's insights, and so that's been a huge passion for me. I've always been a massive history buff. It drove a lot of especially my early travel. It will always drive. I wish we had more focus on history today, because I look back to the past and I see all the mistakes happening right now, and we're so stupid. But if we made history as important as the other subjects at school, we might not continuously be going backwards. I'm having a bit of a mumbly day today, as you can tell. What else? You know, so history, travel, communication. I do love to write. Again, it wasn't something I was very good at, but I got better at. So that's all part of the communication thing. There's so many aspects, and I think one of the things that I really love the most is I love seeing the magic in people, and if they don't see it in themselves, they don't know what their magic is, if I can help them to bring it out and have confidence in it, I love to do that. So there's all different things, and of course knowledge sharing. I love to share information. the things that I'm inspired about. I want other people to know about it. I want them to be inspired by it too. I hope, you know, by sharing information, I can change bad behaviours that are happening in society. So, you know, these are all different parts of me. And of course, with the rise of social media, finally, I have a way of putting all of these different parts of me together and going out there and defining my voice around these passion areas. And so that's sort of evolved into my purpose. And when I think about ultimately what my purpose is today, and I'm still trying to get the words for it, but I think this is about as close as I can get. I want to be one of the people in the world that is driving humanity to a higher level of consciousness. We always move up in consciousness. We always have throughout history, and it's often following wars, or, you know, like when the printing press was invented and people became literate and they could read, so the information wasn't dictated to them by their other powers, right? That lifted consciousness. But more often than not, when we go back through history, it's bad situations have happened. 9/11. And it raises us all up. Or sometimes it can shrink us down too. I feel America is still... It lost its naivety in 9/11, which I think I mourn that a little bit, even though it was something we often laughed at around the world. I actually miss that naivety. It was a lovely quality. But yeah, so we usually have these big moments, and they're dramatic and they're sudden. And, you know, facing some of the issues that the world is facing right now, I think we need to come together and raise to a higher level of consciousness, because from that place we can address some of the enormous challenges that we're facing in the future. You know, just today I was doing some research on the current refugee numbers around the world. We're at 70.8 million now, 70.8 million, and half of them are children. And we're not doing the right thing by these children. We're just not. Nowhere in the world are we doing the right thing. And when you have masses of refugees, you've got other things that are going on. The cartels that are moving the human trafficking cartels. There's a lot more sex trafficking. It's brutal, and I think we need a dignified approach to solve the refugee crisis. Incarceration in many countries around the world, we're locking people up. We don't have enough compassion, and I think that's something that we need. So that's, I think, ultimately what I realised, that's where my purpose is. And if you think about purpose from that perspective, right, that's why I do what I do. That's why I get up and do things like this on video, which I'd rather be hanging out with my boys or going for a swim or doing anything else, right, than putting myself out there like this. But that's why I do what I do, and purpose drives that. So if you can work out what your purpose is, and the best way to find out about your purpose is talk to your family and friends, the people that you trust. Try not to talk to people who will make you smaller or think smaller. Talk to people who think big and they're brave, and they're out there facing the world head on. Sometimes the people closest to you can also be the ones that can do the most harm. They don't do it intentionally, but if you're a brave person, then you've got to go and talk to brave people. If you're courageous, talk to courageous people. People put their things on you, so you don't want to do that. But yeah, so finding your purpose, I'm happy to share my 1-minute meditation, which seems to help a lot of people. But talk to the people around you. Spend some time thinking about it. Don't worry if you can't come up with an answer, but my suggestion is come up with all of the special things about you, the things that excite you. It could be sport. It could be wanting to help the refugees. It could be fighting for the environment. There's so many different things that it can be. So find out all of those different things that you really care about, the things that make your heart beat. And then if there's more than one, like I've got, it's about finding that common thread that sits at the middle. And if you can identify that thread that sits at the middle, even better. But of course, you might be like my sister I was talking about before, and Jamie, her husband, my brother-in-law. They're not just doing skunk work productions. They're really passionate about creativity. They teach children how to play music, and they're really passionate about it because they believe that it's so important. And of course, I agree with them. So, you know, there can be multiple dimensions to you. Don't be scared of having multiple dimensions. But if you can find your purpose, and it's not your work. Your work is how you make money, and they can be both, but it's rarely both. It's what you're here to do. And by the way, if you don't feel that you've got one of those things, that's okay too. If you're happy to cruise, some people like to cruise, and I always say some of us come into this life for a rest, and some of us come in to challenge our very foundations. And of course, people don't always believe in those sort of ideas, but maybe you're just here to have a beer and put your feet up, right? That's all right too. I don't think we should be putting pressure on each other. But if you are one of those people that needs to find your purpose, spend time on it. It's not easy. It's easy for some, but it's brutally hard for others. But bring all the pieces together, the joyful pieces, the real passion, the real loves, the things that, put a skip in your step. Work out what they are, find the common thread, and you'll be getting closer to your purpose. So spend some time on it. There's lots of great people out there that can help you do that too. So, Wisdom 22, find your purpose. And tomorrow, I'm going to talk about finding your voice, which is equally challenging. All right, I'll see you then.